Oh, it's time. Time to get radical.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to Radical Comment of the Week for April 26th through May the 2nd, 2021. These are the very best comments from that time period. Starting out with the honorable mentions, we have Mr. Self-Improvement, Mecha Zaus, and Wolfpack 1. The bronze medal comes to us from Demolition Dude. I used to be a big fan of Camelot 331 and would defend him in comment sections. But after his most recent video about how he got fired from Walmart, I completely turned on him. He is a liar. Now this might get a bit long, but here goes. About a year or two ago, he uploaded a video about how GameStop got him fired from his job as a district manager for a third-party vendor that would supply movies and CDs inside Walmart stores. In his most recent video, he never mentions that he was just a district manager for a vendor service. He made it sound like he was actually district manager for a media company and he was just in charge of trying to increase sales for the movies and CDs he would stock. He also stated in his video that he was above the assistant managers, co-managers, and store managers, and he described them as his underlings. Also not true. I spent 12 years at Walmart, and I've seen many third-party vendors get escorted out of the store and banned from the property because of the way they treated associates and customers. They have zero say in Walmart's day-to-day business operations. Cody is a liar and a scam artist. Bingo, right there. I can't believe at this point anyone actually still defends Camelot 331. I can't believe it. Has to be the stupidest of the stupid. Because if you've ever worked in retail, maybe a lot of these people that actually go to his channel, ironically, have never worked in retail. The thing is, vendors are not above the company. Vendors are not even above the store managers. Okay, it's the other way around. Vendors come in, they stock their products, and in any way, shape, or form, if they step out of line or if they are rude to customers, well, then their superiors get a call from store management. That's just, how can you not know this? And well, a lot of people probably don't know this that never have any experience in retail or anything like that. Now, when it comes to Camelot 331, like I said, I don't see how anyone can still defend him. There's people like you that come here all the time, and they tell me similar stories about how he's a liar. People stop by comment sections. Last year, there was a person that came by and they said, and I couldn't really verify it, but they said, they've known Cody for several years, and he's basically just trying to make it on YouTube to where he doesn't have to go to work. That's the irony there. That's the irony. Along with other people like a Review Tech USA, they just don't want to fucking go back to work. So they will do whatever they can to keep this a gravy train a rolling. And lying is, not above them to do. Because people like Camelot 331 and Review Tech USA, to a lesser extent, I think, versus Camelot 331. You heard me correctly. I think to a lesser extent versus Camelot 331, they just have lots of integrity issues. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they don't see their audience as anything more than just donators. Doggone it. The silver medal comes to us from Rusty Shackelford. I agree about Bray Wyatt / The Fiend. Bray Wyatt was, for the most part, over with fans, but WWE decided to feed him to John Cena and bury him entirely. Then, when he came back with the Fiend persona, he was over with the fans again. Unfortunately, WWE dropped the ball again and started to bury him. Like you said, there is no way they can salvage The Fiend. That character is dead now, and no matter what WWE does, people aren't going to care as much. I have a lot of issues with WWE, but there's one that I have to choose in relation to above aside from burying good wrestlers. It's the lack of powerful characters the WWE has on their roster these days. Back in the Attitude Era, you had plenty of guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Chris Jericho, The Undertaker, Kane, etc., who had so much character behind them, it made feuds and tag teams so interesting. The Rock versus Stone Cold, The Undertaker versus Kane, etc., were all memorable because of how great these characters were. Same can be said about the tag teams and factions like Degeneration X, Brothers of Destruction, Edge and Christian, etc. were all memorable because of how great these characters were together. Even the Ruthless Aggression era was great because of some of the good characters they had with the Legend Killer Randy Orton, the Animal Batista, the Doctor of Thugonomics John Cena, etc. Nowadays, the characters in WWE are complete crap and forgettable. Part of the problem, in my opinion, is that WWE places more emphasis on characters being a face or heel rather than actually having a character. Every face plays to the fans while every heel is whiny or some coward. They all just feel the same and generic. That's why I love The Fiend so much, and I think that is one of the reasons why his character was so over with fans, because there was an actual character to him. Anyone who wrestled The Fiend would change. In my opinion, that was a brilliant character, but WWE killed him. Honestly, I can talk about this for hours, but I'm just going to leave it at that. Well, a lot of that Fiend stuff is stupid. It is silly, especially with the puppets. But the idea of actually, changing other wrestlers, that didn't start with The Fiend. The idea of actually, a wrestler actually getting in there and having matches with someone and maybe bringing out an edge in them, bringing out a certain edge or, certain abilities or whatever. It's really about the stories that's told. And the stories these days are crap. I watch WrestleMania and I'm like, okay, what's the big stories being told? It just seemed like very bland and generic matches. You take it back to maybe, even 10 years ago, and there was actual interesting characters and actual stories. They forgot that it's about the characters. I don't see how they could forget that it's about the characters. It seems like they just don't want to build any characters. And maybe they just don't care. Maybe they feel like they don't have any competition. But you bring up a lot of great mid-card talent. I mean, mid-card talent, like D-Generation X, the Road Dogg Jesse James, the badass Billy Gunn. If those two people showed up today in WWE and actually, gave those same kind of promos, they would be far more interesting than anyone currently on the roster. And that's pretty shocking. Not saying that they have to be very lewd and crude and whatnot like that. There's ways to get your personality across without even being, lewd and crude. They could really make it work. But everything today just seems like it's copy cutter and, cut and paste and everything. They need more attitude, but not just for the sake of it. They need more character. They need desperately what they could actually inject if they wanted to, which is just, well, maybe they can't even do it anymore because it's to the point to where a lot of people have just kind of given up, and they don't have any former stars around that actually have really any star power because they've screwed up. Essentially, they just screwed up, So how do they get back to where they once were? Short answer, they won't. They never will. They can make things a bit more interesting, but they just keep dropping the ball, like you said. How do you drop the ball twice on somebody with the talent of Bray Wyatt? How do you drop the ball twice? The gold medal today comes to us from Mr. Self-Improvement. I honestly don't trust most people anymore, even professionals and religious leaders. The quality of humans on this planet these days is questionable at best. There are plenty of good people, but humans are weak, and even the nicest folks will understandably throw you under the bus if the situation is bad enough. Yes, there are always that rare exception. The fact is that if your own blood isn't willing to put you before themselves, then no one else will. My own grandparents, on both sides, what crazy bad luck, disowned and mistreated me. My father left us for women and drugs. My mother was mentally, physically abusive and emotionally distant. My brother, understandably, growing up in this environment, sought family ties elsewhere and left my life. And nearly every best friend I've ever had, including one of 15 years, has betrayed and abandoned me. And I've had stuff I said in confidence to people I trusted thrown in my face as ammunition so many times that if I had $1 for each time, I would be able to start my own space rival. Honestly, I keep people at arm's length, even the folks I really connect with. It's never anything personal. If you need help, I'll give you the shirt off my back. I'm the guy who runs towards fire, but I'm of the assumption that you are born into this world alone, and you die that way. Humans still haven't evolved enough to be able to put others before themselves when the chips are down. That's why those few who can are always regarded as superheroes amongst men, their deeds spoken about in disbelief. I never take it personally anymore at all, since I'm used to it. But at 35, I've learned a lot of hard life lessons about keeping my dirty baggage, or at least the stuff I don't want out there, to myself. Too many people exploit weakness. Even as a little guy, I learned real early in my life, sadly, that humanity's instinctual urge to survive at any cost is a strong one. Self-preservation is the one constant in this world. People will do crazy things when their back is against the wall, or they feel they can improve their lives by taking advantage of someone else's moment of weakness. We're also a very spiteful species, which doesn't make it any better. You gotta stand up for yourself and be your own best advocate in this world, and always keep an eye out for people who might not benefit your well-being. Though to be fair, even in nature we see most mothers abandon their young when their own lives are at risk, given enough pressure. Mother Nature is a cruel mistress. Human beings are weak. Human beings are weak. I'll repeat that. Human beings are weak. We try as best as we can to be strong, whether it be mentally, emotionally, physically. I've seen some of the strongest men I've ever known just kind of crack under the pressure of their lives, So we have this idea of strength and what it means to be strong, but ultimately it's kind of pointless because humans are weak. If it's not physically weak, it's mentally weak or it's emotionally weak. I'm a person that strives for personal perfection. I strive for it, and I've hit my limitations on all fronts: mental, physical, emotional. I guess what you would define by physical strength would be maybe how much weight you can lift, how physically strong you are. But you hit your limits. You hit your limits. Mental strength. How much do you know? How intelligent are you? Everyone's going to hit their mental limit. I mean, Einstein hit his mental limit because we're not meant to be perfect. And emotional. This is the one that hurts the most. I mean, literally, it hurts the most, right? When I've had to deal with the passings of friends or family members, it doesn't matter how mentally strong you are or how physically strong you are. You can't control your emotions, or even if you try to control your emotions, they come back in other forms. It just really shocks me how a lot of people don't understand how weak human beings are. And I guess it makes it more shocking when we have heroes, superheroes that run into fire to save people. There's certain people made it a certain way that they can actually put aside their own vulnerabilities to save the lives of others. These are true heroes. I could never be that kind of a person. The thing I value more than anything else is my own survival. I'm one of those people. Like, I can't see past my own survival. And there's things about myself I would like to change, but like I said, human beings are weak. We are weak. Now, sometimes I talk about people taking advantage of others, and this happens with, e-begging, e-beggars online, people manipulating others. This is something that I could never really do. I could never take advantage of others. I could never take money from others online. Now, if I was providing a product or something like that, if I was providing some merchandise or an actual item, then that's a bit different. I wouldn't feel bad about that. But I will say it's a great bit of advice you give here towards the middle of your comment, to keep people at arm's length. Understand. Everyone has their own motivations in life. Even people you're dating or married to, they have their own motivations in life. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we come into this world alone and we leave the world alone. All right? Everyone ultimately is about themselves. Okay? So keep people at arm's length. And going back to talking about wrestling, Stone Cold Steve Austin had a great saying. It's don't trust anybody, right? That was the saying, right? Don't trust anybody.